Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanchez, Jim Jonas with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today, our guest is going to be Mayor John Lee, who was a former state senator, former mayor of North Las Vegas, and running for Congressional District 4 in Nevada's district. But before we get to our guest, Jim, you have any rants?
Yeah, just a brief one. And you know specifically what I'm talking about, Stephen. I'm going to share it all to the viewers and listeners. But one of the things that I'm getting frustrated with is judgmental people. And I've learned a lot through the years to not judge somebody because you don't know exactly what that person's going through. And so, I spent 4.5 months out in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. Now, they could have been talking behind my back, mm-hmm. but I never felt like people were judging me, mm-hmm. right? Well, ever since I've been back here, it's like everybody is so judgmental, and we're all going through something. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that people need to be a little bit more respectful to others and realize everybody's going through something. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're carrying out the duties that you need to take care of for your job or your family or whatever, then it's really no one else's business how you lead your life.
True that.
Yeah.
That's right. That's why I believe in the Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I'm just really, I just want to thank you, John.
Well, I'd like to add to that. I think you went away long enough to come back and really see it. People are living here. It's been going incrementally with inflation, right. with gas, with jobs. People work 2 or 3 jobs now. Yeah. There's a sort of mental illness now that's taking place. Right. We don't know where our country's going. We don't know what the next outbreak in the world is going to do and how that's going to affect us. And we're on pins and needles right now. So I recognize that you tapped into the thought process of everybody in Southern Nevada. Yeah. We're just glad the economy hasn't dropped already, and so bless your heart for recognizing that. And if you can make life easier on other people, that's good, because I always try to.
Well, Mr. Lee, how you doing today, sir?
It's a fine day here in Las Vegas, Stephen.
Tell us about yourself.
That's a good question. I grew up here, I grew up in North Las Vegas. I graduated high school at Rancho High School. We came here in 1961. My father was in the military, and I came here when I was 5 years old. So it's been my home, roughly my whole life.
You didn't just move from another state and decide to run for office like some people.
No, I am really a Nevadan, I can tell you that. And
how important is that? Before we get in, how important is that to actually be in Nevada for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and run for office and not just move from another state and decide to run for office? How important is it to actually be a Nevadan?
Well, I'll tell you, if you've been in Nevada for like 25 years, but if you've been here your whole life, mm-hmm. when you meet kids that went to your high school, even though I graduated in 73 and they graduated in 93, there's still a camaraderie. Yeah. It's like going to high school, college, you still, we're supporting each other. We're glad each other's here because we know those are the people that are going to stay here, continue. Those are the people we want to hire because their families are here. They won't leave job. They won't jump ship and go to back to where they came from. Right. There's an investment in time. And I don't know a lot of people who live in Nevada, or as long as I have, who haven't looked around and said, where else would I rather go? We love it here. This is a great place. You can come here with no name and build yourself and make a new reputation for yourself. I love Nevada, and I'm a very proud Nevadan.
Okay, sorry for that.
No, but it's a good question.
Please continue. Your bio.
So I married my wife the week I turned 19 years old. I just fell in love immediately, and we started having children. We have 7 children. We have 31 grandchildren.
Oh, my God.
2 great-grandchildren.
So this is the time of year you're broke, right?
It's a credit card time probably for a lot of people. We keep it to a minimum. But, I started out in the plumbing industry, digging ditches, and worked my way up to being a journeyman plumber, a master plumber, then owning my own company. I own a large tile and marble company. I've started banks with guys. I've owned data centers with people. So I've had a very, very good life. I've worked very, very hard to surround myself with very good people. And I've been very successful here. And there is a time in your life you look back like, what now? can I pass on? Who can I lift up now? And I'm at that stage of my life right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Aren't you good friends with Rod Bray?
Oh, I am. Yeah, he has a plumbing company here in town.
Yeah.
But you did miss one little thing. I was the state assemblyman first, Steve.
Yeah.
And that's where I first met you, then senator, then mayor.
Yeah. We've known each other forever, huh?
I think back when you were in your 20s,
You didn't even invite me over for Christmas dinner or anything.
The last time you ate the whole turkey by yourself.
So, all right, let's get right into it, Mr. Lee. So, you were the mayor during the worst epidemic known to man, right? Well, maybe I strike that. Maybe not known to man, but in our generation.
In this state's history.
Right.
Unless
so,
somebody
the
was...
Black Plague and all those other stuff.
Yeah, but no state had officially lost its state charter. Yeah. And North Las Vegas was so far underwater. $156 million in debt immediately. It a $6 million hole in the budget. They'd already laid off 1,000 people. I mean, it was at the end of times. And you'd say, well, why would you think about being mayor of that town? Well, because like I just told you, I grew up here. It was my hometown. It'd be like your Marines. It would be like your school, wherever you came from. If you had any opportunity to preserve that, your church, you should do those things. And so I went and I won in the primary. The other mayor was relieved of duty, let's say, by the voter before it even got to general election. And so when I got in to be the mayor, and so when I got in there, I remember sitting against the wall, Steve. I didn't even sit at the desk. I sat against the wall and I looked around and go, what do I really have to do now to win? I was skeptical. I was skeptical it could be done, but optimistic. If anybody could do it, it would be me because of my business experience. And the other thing I had going for me, the state of Nevada didn't want North Las Vegas. They didn't. If you have $10 in your wallet right now, Steve, you have $10 more than the state of Nevada had. They were almost dead broke too. So the state came to me and said, whatever you can do, try to keep this thing afloat. We'll help wherever we can. And I just went to work and I started calling people up who are not traditional employees of a city. And I said, listen, you made enough money where you're at. The people in North Las Vegas need you to come over here. You've got experience in engineering. We need an engineer or we need people here, And I can only pay you $125,000 a year max. That's all I'm going to pay. But I brought in new directors. My first year, a little bit after that, all the directors were gone that I came in, they were here. The city manager, city attorney, police chief, fire chief, gone. There was a new sheriff in town. But then we started working together, Steve, just like you guys would in business. I surrounded myself with some brilliant people. And I always tell people this, Steve, I don't pay you to tell you how to think. I pay you to tell me how to think. If I haven't got people smarter than me around me, then I've got problems. And I don't mind being the least educated person at the table because I'm learning so much at the same time. And so if there was 5 of us at a table and it was the inner circle of this fixed North Las Vegas, sometimes the mayor comes up with a lot of great ideas, but sometimes people don't think they're such great ideas. So I would put out what my idea was and I'd sell it. And it was so smart. 90% of the time, I got my thought across and it made sense to them. But 10% of the time I said, John, you shouldn't do that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. And if 3 of them voted no, I didn't do it. I'm not going to ever take intelligent people and not take their wisdom also. But, Steve, we went from all the bond rating companies have us at junk. We're all up at A today. We did great. We put water lines and sewer lines in immediately. I set a goal. My team could not believe this. We're going to do 100 million square feet of concrete on the ground for industrial and commercial building in this city. And they were going, does that count housing? No, we're not counting housing. We're going to redefine and diversify the economy of North Las Vegas. Every day when I got up, Steve, for work, I was in competition with Henderson, Las Vegas, Clark County, because these companies coming to town, they were going to come somewhere here. And it was my job to convince them to come to North Las Vegas. And so I put my best sales hat on. I showed them the future. And I showed them where I was putting water sewer lines, what I was doing, and how fast I could move them through the building process. You can do a lot of good with money on a project, but if the city doesn't get your permits out in a timely manner, you spend thousands of dollars waiting for the bureaucracy of local government to move projects.
Still talking about COVID?
No, we're talking about the whole lifestyle of the city of North Las Vegas. We were competing.
So let me ask you this real quick. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You start.
I'm still
talking
trying to
at
get
the
my
same time.
question going out here.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So are you going to ask the same question?
No, go ahead.
No. I got a different question. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve.
The governor's mandate, Governor Sisolak, and he closed down businesses and had mask mandate and telling people they needed to get the shot and the vaccines. What's your take on all of that? When you were mayor of North Las Vegas,
That's a good question. Let me see, Sisolak. Did he ever call my office once and tell me what he was thinking about doing before I saw it on TV? No, Steve. I never got a single call from the guy. Neither did any other county commissioners or city mayors or councilmen here. The guy stayed up in the Capitol and just made directives and forced people to do the things that other governors were doing. He never had an original thought in his life, And so I didn't care what he said. I didn't want to talk to him. I'm done with you. You're not a leader. I'm not going to surround myself with you. And so we did cursory things. They gave us money to send people out in the fields, knock on doors at businesses. Hey, you got to wear a mask. We had to do that. This is how I feel. I never made our employees ever take a shot. I didn't make our firefighters take a shot. I didn't make our police men and women take a shot. It was their responsibility. They knew what they wanted. But what the offset of COVID did, it started causing me big problems. Take, for example, you have a husband and wife, and say the wife is a firefighter working for you, and the husband works at the airlines, let's say, or somewhere, okay? So they got kids at home, but they couldn't find babysitters. There was nowhere to take the children. So for 2 days, the firefighter would come to work, and then she would call in sick, and the husband would then go to work. So we had people trying to keep paychecks going, not get laid off, but you just can't leave your kids at home and say, here's some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, watch TV and keep the TV down so no one knows you're here. Just abandon your kids at home. So we, as a city and a city manager and council, we decided we were going to open up our senior centers and our libraries for students to come that were city employees. We would have a teacher there. A qualified organization came in and taught our students. They took tests. They said, oh, you're really good in math. You need to be in fourth grade math. I know you're a third grader, but you're fourth grade level, but your English is low. So you need to be in your grade or one below. We talked to their needs and what they already had intelligence in. We had computers for them. We did everything we could.
So you don't agree with Sisolak when he was?
No, not a bit. I didn't want to mention his name again.
What would you consider non-essential?
Non-essential. I didn't want to close anything down.
Okay.
I had Home Depot. They closing down churches and people. They said you can go to church, but you can't sing. I heard that for a while. They wouldn't allow singing, and stuff. So, but I will tell you that my faith listened to the directive of the government, and did what it was supposed to. Because these churches have to follow so many tax rules and stuff like that, But if somebody went to church, I was happy for them to go to church. Just do what you need to do, but be careful.
What would you say if I told you that Joe Biden said there's going to be another epidemic?
Besides the one he's created right now,
Yes.
a health one?
No.
He's probably already warned you that the elitist, that worldwide organization that want a one world government are planning to do something else. Do I know that for sure? No, but that's be the first thought that went in my mind.
Okay.
That there's a conspiracy out there to destroy America, because the rest of the countries, they're like this, they're top heavy and they don't have a lot of infrastructure. We've got everything here, minerals, food, everything. They've got to destroy America before they can take over the world. And I really believe that there's a group of people that's what they want to do right now.
Okay, so when you get elected to Congress, here's one of the things, and this is a budget question, because this is one of the things that has always frustrated me a great deal about the federal government. Okay, so you're supposed to pass a fiscal budget for the new year, October 1st. Every single year, they never can pass that budget, and then they just kick the can down the road, and then there's always an emergency fund. So if you get elected, or when you get elected to Congress, what will you do to push them to get that federal budget passed? Because when they keep kicking the can down the road, it increases inflation so much because the interest rates on the federal deficit right now have actually more than the GDP. So would you commit to, because you did take over a tough situation in North Las Vegas, how would you talk to your peers in Congress to explain how important it is to actually pass a budget?
That is probably the smartest thing we could do, except it would open a whole can of worms that everybody doesn't want exposed to the people that live in this country. When you have a budget, they can look at the budget. They can see it. When you do continuing resolutions, it just moves the clock farther down the way. You don't have to be responsible until you get elected again. That's the whole reason they do it. It's just as a continuing resolution, and they don't want anybody to know how bad it is right now. That every business has to go through that. We have accounts, we have insurance people, we have bankers, we have all the things that we have to respond to. And it's not too hard for us to do it, but the United States government, and let me say this, it's the government, but it's also the legislative branch, that's not forcing that to happen. They haven't had a budget in 15 years, I'll bet, guys. They just keep kicking the can down the road. Yes, I'm in full support of the financial security that budget would give the people in America. Unless the warning signals are right now, it's so far gone, like you were saying, I can see why they hide it. But we're going to have to reconcile that.
Right. So that leads me into, because more budgeting questions. So when you were mayor of North Las Vegas, tell me if this is true or not, but you voted to actually cut the police budget by $100 million.
Isn't that the funniest thing you ever heard? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Okay,
my budget was only $500 million, and $100 million. We had more police officers. We opened up the jail. We were tough on crime in North Las Vegas. They had to get rid of the jail.
See, I was told you wanted to close the jail.
We opened the jail. It was closed when I got there. They let everybody off.
That was true. It was closed.
Yeah, it was closed. And
they were using the city of Las Vegas.
We were renting a unit there and paying to have people there, and top of the rent that we were doing. It was the stupidest deal that ever happened. There's a thing called financial insolvency. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
There's also a thing called service insolvency. What is that? If the taxpayer is giving you money, you have the responsibility to give him the services that he's paying for. Fire protection, police protection, all that kind of stuff. I would have been service insolvency if I'd have done that. We would not have been adhering to our Constitution, our state charter, and having a police department and fire department, because that would have wiped them all out. That is the stupidest thing that anybody has ever written. And I was more tough on crime than anybody else. You didn't have $100 million to cut out. We would have been out of business, and we've been out of service insolvency.
Fair enough. So my next question then, I'm not trying to.
I'm going to send you a list of all the things we did.
Okay.
So you can see it.
No, I just want to. No. One of the things when we get people on the show is I'm going to dispel rumors.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so then that way you have a chance.
Perfect.
And that's why I'm asking. And then, so here's the other question I have for you is years ago, you ran a primary against Steven Horsford. And you dropped out of that race and said he was a good candidate.
No, I never ran a primary against him.
Okay.
I was considering doing it, and he was considering doing it. Somebody else was considering doing it. And I decided, no, I'm not going to do it because I wasn't prepared to do it at the time. I don't know that I ever said anybody's a good candidate in that race. I just said, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Did I go out and knock on doors and stump for him? Did I go to a convention and say he's great? Nothing. I never did anything. I just said, I'm out,
Okay, so the next elephant in the room then, and again, I'm just
these are good questions.
Dispelling rumors. No, because I have
I was bad.
No, I have a lot of respect for you, John. Yeah. I really do. I always have. And then I'll get into my other question. But so some people are confused. You were a Democrat, and then you switched, and now you're a Republican.
No, I was a Republican before I was a Democrat. I switched to Republican.
See,
so let me take a couple seconds here.
It's very confusing.
Yeah,
I
was like 35 years old, and I had been on the Parking Traffic Commission, and I'd been on the Park and Recreation Board for the city, and the Comprehensive Planning Board for the county. Yeah. And I was involved in the community. parent, PTA, all that stuff.
So how long were you a Republican the first time?
20 years.
And how long were you a Democrat? Because when I met you, were a Democrat.
When I was 19 years old, we got married. And my wife said, we need to go in and get registered to vote because you could register at 18, And I was working on a potato farm, and I was living in Utah at the time, in a potato farm, Jefferson St. George Enterprise, Utah. And so we came down here, and my wife said, we need to register to vote. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so we went down to register to vote, and the lady asked me, are you Democrat or Republican? In our family, I know my parents my mom liked John Kennedy because she was Irish, and McGlenn Shannon's Irish support thing, So I never heard my dad ever say anything about politics. We just worked for the president. When the president says you get transferred here, you just go. We weren't a political family. So we go down to get registered to vote, and the lady says to me, are you Republican or Democrat? I go, I don't know. I looked at my wife. That's a thought I'd never had before. Yeah. And my wife says, oh, we're Republicans. We don't like to pay taxes. I go, oh, that's probably a reason, but I never paid taxes in my life to begin with. I don't even know what taxes are, hardly, And so I became Republican. And then, so all along, I never involved myself with the party, didn't know nothing. I'm just digging ditches and washing dishes or whatever my jobs were.
And then what happened to you?
And then I get on these boards and commissions, and they're saying, well, if the legislature would have done this, we'd have done that. And I go, I remember the three branches of government, but who's our elected representative? Why is he not smart enough to see all these things, or her? And so I found out who it was. I said, I'm going to run against that person. At least I got C's in high school. That guy got an F rated by the lobbyists and everybody. So I go down to the Republican Party. I make an appointment, and I go down there, and they got three people sitting there. And George Harris, one of your friends, I hope, was right there. He was at the table. And they started interviewing me, and they're kind of like this, and because they had somebody they already wanted in that district. They had already chosen somebody. That's who they wanted. And so when I got done, they go, well, John, we already got somebody we like, So if you'd move to Henderson,
like Harris.
if you go to Henderson,
we don't like you.
If we go to Henderson, then maybe we'll help you out there. I go, I'm not moving, that's just where I live. And I owned Vegas Plumbing at the time, and I was pretty successful. So just as I was getting ready to leave, one of the ladies there looked at me, and she knew I was a member of the LDS church. And she pointed to me, she goes, the day of the white Mormon male is over in this town, John. We're not electing more people like you anymore. The Christiansons, the Levins, all these LDS historic families, that built a community. I didn't know any of them. They weren't my friends. They didn't plumb with me. And so I walked down those stairs, thought, I have never been discriminated before in my life. And I'm kind of like, I'll write you off quick, and I'll go after you the rest of my life. You just offended me. And I went back to my shop. All the guys were putting their stuff on the truck, and I thought, them Republicans don't like me. They obviously wouldn't like them guys either then. So I'm quitting. I don't even know it. And I went to the Republican Party, and I put in to run for the state assembly. And these guys go, who's this guy, John Lee? I didn't even know you had to talk to a majority leader, a Joe Dean. I didn't know you had to interview. I just went down and put my $100 in, said, I'll compete, And so they called me in there, who are you? And I told them I was a non-union contractor. I was white. I was Mormon. I was whatever I was at the time. It didn't look like the traditional Democrat. But they said to me, well, your name's on a ballot, and it's a Big Ten, I guess. Welcome in, And I got elected, and I won. I didn't.
So you got elected as a Republican or a Democrat?
A Democrat.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just took over. And when we were up there in the legislature, Steve, this is incredible. We might have had 4 or 5 bills that were partisan. The rest of them were Nevada issues. We used to fight down south. Most people were Democrats because UNR would take all the tax money, or Reno, and we wouldn't get our money down here for our schools and stuff. So we went up as the Southern Nevadans, who happened to be Democrats, against the Northern Nevadans, who were Republicans, to bring tax dollars down. None of the issues that are going on today were even involved.
So how long were you a Democrat for?
Probably
before you changed over.
15 years, something like that.
So your whole political career, you were as a Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was independent. I wasn't.
And now you're a Republican.
Now I'm a Republican.
So how can we trust you, John? How can we trust you?
Oh my gosh.
How can we trust you to be a conservative in Congress? Because
let's think
Congress votes on a lot of stuff that affects a whole bunch of people.
Let's think about that. Let's see. He went and got $49 million to build that shooting range up there. Worked 10 years to get it built.
The one in North Decatur.
North Decatur. Yeah. He was the NRA elected official of the nation that year. Then he was a Sports Shooting Foundation elected official of the nation. So do you think NRA is a Republican outfit? More than Democrat, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see. He saved the city by doing all the things smart business people do. a Cities and Counties magazine in 2018 looked at the whole nation and said, this guy sent Sacramento and Vallejo and San Bernardino County and Detroit are still dying financially. Mm-hmm. This guy's already fixed them, got the ratings up to there. I think that guy's like the elected official of the nation. They made me elected official of the nation for that. There is nothing about me that isn't Nevadan. Right. I am not. I'm probably the last real Nevadan out there in the field right now, but I am not the Democratic Party of today, and I never was in the past.
Because they say Democrats like to raise taxes. Are you?
I never voted myself even a pay raise the whole time I was in the legislature. They'd say, "Hey, you can help us vote." No, I'm not. I told them I'd come to work this wage. That's what I'm working for. So no.
So let me ask you this question real quick, John, because I remember, I honestly believe it's the last time I interviewed you. You were a state senator.
Could have been.
And I want to believe it was 2008. And you ended up losing your re-election bid that year.
Could have been. Well, there's a good example.
It had something to do with Lake Tahoe. Because the Democrat Party...
No, that was an excuse.
Was it?
In Lake, there's the TRP, Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, was stopping all growth in that area. You had an old motel, you couldn't tear it down. There was 4 people on the California side, 2 on Nevada. They would always outvote us, So I said, that's wrong. I'm going to take those guys. We're going to get a balanced board there. Something's going to change, So anyway, I took that on, and it was just to make sure that our Nevada businesses could change the facade of their building. They could do something. They could go to the TRP. They could apply for it without California wiping us out. We had no control over that whole area. So that was the excuse. The real reason was there was 10 Democrats who were elected, 10 Republicans, and there's 21 people there. I was right in the middle. And the Democrats couldn't get a stupid thing passed. They say, we won't get this passed, John. He's not going to vote for it. And Republicans say, oh, I'm so glad John's there. This is great. He won't vote for that, So they just needed that seat. Whatever it was, they had to get a majority so they could get the chairmanships and get what they wanted passed. I wasn't one of their guys.
But that was very brave of you, because I remember after you cast that vote, I told Steve, I said, he's not going to get reelected now.
Yeah. But it was right.
But it was the right thing to do. So I just want to, I've asked you some really hard questions, so I want to make sure that I give you your kudos too.
No, I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you standing up like that.
But that's why they have term limits. It's a part-time gig. You go there, you do your best, and then you've ran for the legislature.
Congress has no term limits.
What's that?
Congress, there's no term limits. The seat you're running for.
But I'm going to term limit myself probably. I'm not going to be the rest of my life. So it's the virtuous man who can actually say no to the highest bidder. It's really what it is. If no one can put the thumb on you and you're doing things for the right cause, you can look at yourself in the mirror. Just do your best. I don't care how you think, but do what you think is right and just stand by it.
So in 2016, you were a registered Democrat, correct?
Yeah, in my mayor years, when Sisolak was governor.
So
that was it. I was done. I can't stand you. You're evil, and and all the
he used to be my friend.
Well, you've had a lot of odd friends.
Yeah, he used to be our friend, and then as soon as he gets elected governor, doesn't.
I said it to him a year before he actually did do it. I said, you should run for governor one day. And he looked at me and thought I had 3 eyes. And then look at him. He ran for governor.
Well,
and got
so let me tell you what turned the worm. Local politics is not governed on political, really. It's not. It's zoning, it's licensing, it's all that kind of stuff. And the way Sisolak was running the state, I knew we were going down, just like North Las Vegas of the past, And so I called up different people in the Republican Party. Are you running for governor? Who's running? Because nobody in the Democratic Party would challenge him. He had $6 million in the bank, And I asked these key Republican leaders, I go, are you guys running? Well, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure he's got $6 million in the bank, I go, you know what? I'll go against him. I don't care. So I changed my party, and they still were meandering around doing different tasks.
Why did you run against him as a Democrat?
Because I don't like the Democrats. What was I?
Oh, okay, well, then answer this question.
I'm definitely not for abortion. I'm not for anything that they are. I'm not against guns. I'm not against this country, And so anyway, I put my name in, and when no one else had run, they go, you guys just sit home then. I'm going to run against him. And so I ran, and then all of a sudden they got excited. All of a sudden Dean Heller jumps in, and Joe jumps in, and some good people. Mm-hmm. We never had a disagreement among all of us. And when Joe won the governorship, or when the primary, it was go, 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 Joe. We got to get rid of Sisolak. Right. And so I never said about Joe and I never had a bad day. We get along. We were friends, you know. And when he won the governorship, I won. Because my goal was not to be governor. My goal was to get rid of Sisolak. And I think Joe's doing a great job. And he's got a tough legislature he's working with. But, you know, I applaud him.
So you were in the presidential election of 2016. Who'd you vote for? Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton?
Oh, God, you have to ask me that question.
You're in the hot seat, Joe.
I only had two choices. It was Trump. There's no doubt, you know. So, no, there have been times I have voted for neither one of the candidates because I didn't like either one of them, but I knew one I wasn't, you know, going to see that she got a shot at it.
So my next question, I wanted to kind of pivot my questions a little bit this way, because one of the things I remember Bill Clinton talking about is when he got elected president in 1992, he wanted to be an education president. He wanted to focus more on domestic policy. Okay. But one of the things he found out really quickly is that 80% of his day was on foreign policy. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, how much do you know about the War Powers Act? And as far as just as far as the role of Congress.
Oh, yes.
Because one of the things I get frustrated with is the president just starts sending troops everywhere without consulting Congress first. So what's your position on that?
They always they go around the legislative branch because the legislative branch can't do anything. Does that mean the president should do what he does? I don't know. But if there's something evil going on in this world, if you have a good president, there's got to be something to stop evil. But I blame most of the problems in this country of communication between the executive and the legislative branch. I'm going to be one of those guys that I want to listen. What's going on? I'd like to be in the Armed Services Committee, you know, because North Las Vegas, 40,000 people in that city are vets, dependents, enlisted, retirees. You know, there's a lot of them. I'd like to be there. I'd like to know the dangers of what's going on in the country. And so I think it's very important that Congress is more involved in it. But nothing happens in Congress. That's the sad thing about it.
They're too busy fighting each other.
Well, but I promise you guys this, and I'm an Eagle Scout, that if just say you're the Vice President of the United States, you're in my office, you're talking to me, and I don't know what you're talking about. It could be something big. It could just be anything. And they say, hey, Steve Sampson's calling from Las Vegas. Secretary Polk's are heading the door. Steve Sampson, let me give you a second here. I got to talk to this guy. He's a Nevadan. I'm going to work on Nevada issues as hard and fast as I can. And I'm going to be acutely aware of what's going on around me.
You won't be like Steve Sampson.
No, I'm not. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to chase all the way over there to be with all those guys and not get something done for Nevada. We have a lot of issues in Nevada that need to be done. Right now, what happens? We have to call Mark Amadei because Horford doesn't do a doggone thing for anybody. And we have to say, Mark, could you?
Does he live here?
I don't know nothing about the guy. He's a ghost, you know. But we have to call him. Can we get this through Congress? Can we work through there? We have to call John Porter. Can you ask, you know, to get things through for us, our lobbyists, you know. Nevada needs a Southern Nevadan in the Republican Party trying to do things, cut red tape, move business, trying to get all those countries in China back over to Apex, Nevada, where I'm building all those industrial sites, you know. We have to diversify this economy even more than what we are now. We're getting all this game and attention to sports and stuff, but we need real jobs that are 365 days a year paying $80,000 a year.
So what's your take on Ukraine? How would you handle that as a congressman?
Oh my gosh, Steve, you have to ask questions that we're so far in that thing right now. Is it going to be a bloody massacre for 100 years? What do we do? Finland right now just shut down their border between Russia and them because he's sending a bunch of immigrants, so they're trying to destroy that country's economy now. I think, you know, I don't understand enough of the geopolitical world to know what's going on with that. I really be honest.
If I ask you about Israel and Palestine,
I'm pro-Israel. I've been over there before. I enjoy my Israeli friends. None of them ever sit around and say to me, I hate the PLO. We ought to kill them. They're just living their lives. They're trying to do good. They're trying to send their kids to college and get into businesses and do great things.
So let me ask you this then.
I'm still in Israel.
Okay.
When you found out about the attack on Israel, how long before you denounce Hamas?
Oh, I didn't right away. I was out of town. I was in Africa. Next year's our 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats!
And so, but we had to take my wife's dream trip to Africa so she'd go see animals in the wild. I wasn't even here when it happened. All of a sudden, I was in places that didn't even have TVs. So, and then somebody said something, and my staff said, "We put out a statement for you. You weren't here."
Okay.
So I don't know the time limit or anything.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
It's funny because that was my question.
That was your question?
That was my question.
See, great minds think alike.
Yeah. That's a good question.
My next question for you, John, is that one of the things I've always felt about you is I just honestly think you're too nice.
What?
You're too nice of a guy to be
Oh,
involved
is that
in
right?
politics.
Oh, okay.
So, like, politics, no, seriously.
You've never seen me in my business room.
You haven't seen, what are you talking about?
But I'm just saying, but that's your persona, though.
Yeah.
Is that you're just very kind and very evil, equal kill and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So do you really, I was actually asked this right before I got here. Said, John's a really nice guy. He's very knowledgeable, but I just don't think he has the toughness for politics.
Well, after 24 years in the,
I was like, he's been elected
in the 24 years in the fishbowl, I've just learned.
He's like a John Porter.
No, you understand this. Sometimes when you're young and you get married and you get mad and your wife gets mad and all of a sudden you're like in a fight, you're just fighting over something, but it's not important. And I remember one time my wife and I were in a heated argument. And, I got mad and I hit my hand on the table or something. And then I walked outside and I thought, John, you have the ability to quickly make bad decisions when you're mad. So I'm aggressive passive. Yeah. Even though I think Steve could whip me, I will tell you this: if he did something to hit my wife or something like that, it would be go. Yeah. And so the next, so I'm aggressive passive, and I said I've got to control that because my father was like that, and you learn a lot from your parents. But the passive aggressive, he takes it and he's a nice guy. The next day he figures out how to kill your dog, get you fired from your job. He doesn't hit you; he has ways to hurt you. Right. I'm aggressive passive.
Strategist.
Yeah. So what I have to do is I have to be very careful, listen to what they're saying, be very nice, sit back and watch. But when people work for me, I say, we go to work here at 7:30 in the morning. If you're out here 7:30 in the morning, I'm going to fire you. And I give somebody a break if something happens, And they would say, oh, I'm sorry, John, I'll never be late again. That's fine. Half of the next day, I say, you're out here. I don't need you anymore. Well, I got a wife and kids. You should have thought that before you came here to go to work. This is how we operate around this place. So when I make a decision, I plant firmly in the spot I'm at, and nobody has to question what's he going to do or how is he going to respond to it. I am not passive. I'm aggressive. And when it comes to protecting you, I would be aggressive immediately. But when it comes to like taking a few bucks out of my pocket because I don't want to get sued, just do it. I don't care. But I fight for my friends very, very hard, and I would fight very hard for you guys, the legislature.
Well, how are you planning on fighting for this country by securing our borders?
That's the biggest thing going wrong in this world right now.
Which terrorism?
I want to go down there so I can
child slavery.
Yeah, I want to go down there so I can literally see it and then come back. And
when do you plan on doing that?
We're trying to set it up right now. They take trips down there. I want to go down. Yes, I believe everything I see on TV. Yes, I believe everything's happening just like they say it's happening. I want to see it. I want to get it into my heart and into my soul, and make sure we build that wall once and for all. It's not fair to those people to be lied to come up here. It's not fair to us that the people are coming up here expecting to do things here. There's not jobs for those people, a lot of those people, they're just little children. And it's cruelty is what it is.
How would you secure the border, actually?
I'd build that wall.
Would you, while you're building it, would you put troops down there?
I would do whatever it took to stop the next terrorists from coming into our country. They got Chinese people coming. You see it on TV. These are not poor people with a knapsack on their back. These are deliberately people sent to this country to destroy us, So no, totally. Finish that wall, protect this nation.
Well, yeah, because the thing that always frustrates me about people not securing the border is the majority of the people that are actually crossing the border now are, 18, 19-year-old men.
Yeah.
And what stops them from taking up arms against us?
It's a good point. And what that battle cry will be, I don't know. I give you an example over in Ireland. Like I mentioned, my folks were all from Limerick County. That's where we're from in the Irish. And an Algerian who'd been there 23 years, stabbed little kids and stuff like that. And they found out about it, and it just went up in flames that night. People are sick of that in Ireland right now. We're not tired enough of being stupid that we're still watching this happen. We have got to fight this and stop this right now. And if I have to be a leader on it, I'll be a leader on it. But right now, the voice is the president,
So John, I've been living in Centennial Hills, which it borders North Las Vegas, since 2003. And I'm starting.
We took it up with the city council. We will now let you move in. You've reformed yourself. You can now move in.
Oh, to North Las Vegas.
Now you're just a cousin, but we'll invite you into the family.
So, and you see how far Centennial Hills is from the Strip, right? I'm seeing more and more homeless down there. What's your plan on that? Because that's an epidemic that's been going on for years and years and years and years. And everybody said, well, we got a plan for the homeless, but I don't see it. I mean, they said Sandoval was busing them to San Francisco. What's your plan for the homeless issue in this country?
When I was mayor of North Las Vegas, we saw that start to continue to grow. And we don't have, like by Anderson Dairy, they have all these people living on the street and stuff like that, because that's where the center is, So it was close to our community, but not directly in our community. We have people living in the desert. Of course, we have homeless. My understanding of it is so much of it is mental illness to begin with, and then drug induced. People get on these fentanyl. They get on these drugs. They just destroy their lives.
Coming across the border.
Huh? Yeah, coming across the border. I guess if you just take a little bit of that fentanyl and you take it's like scoring the winning touchdown every single time you played football. You were that good of an athlete. It was such a high, And these people just we're wiping out this group of people by letting these drugs come into this country. And China's doing this on purpose. The whole world's watching, hoping we'll waste away the next generation.
We're doing that right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're watching us waste away, this next generation below us. So
what they call them, Generation X, Y, Z?
Y.
We have to shut that wall down. And then we have to where we arrest people and we put them in jail again, So that's what our jail was all about. You commit a crime in North Las Vegas, you're going to do your time. We were very aggressive in North Las Vegas about making sure bad guys knew when you come over here, you're going to have a problem.
So you said mental illness. How are you going to?
Well,
how are you going to deal with that?
See, I don't know all the answers. I just see what's happening around me, and I would dare say that a lot of the men and women in the military got that fatigue, mental challenge in war. I think the people and the families in this valley now are fighting that. Their children are going to schools that they're happy with, but they don't have the money to get them a charter school, or they don't get in the lottery. Jobs are getting scarcer to get, as more and more people move here. And how do you make your house payment, and buy a house? How do you even buy a house? I talked to this lady.
With 8% interest.
Yeah, I talked to this lady at Smith's Food King the other day. Wonderful person. For some reason, there wasn't a line, and I was there, and I go, do you guys get a discount when you buy food? Because, man, this stuff's getting expensive. This is crazy. And I pointed to 2 or 3 things. If they hadn't cost twice as much, they'd shrunk down twice as much, And she goes, you know what? She goes, it's myself, my husband, and our 2 children, and I used to spend about $500 a month on food for our family. So they cook at home. They're probably eating, out when they want. She says, now I'm spending $1,000 a month. How does a checker at Smith's Food King pay $1,000 a month and still have an opportunity to dream in this country of home ownership? Mm-hmm. So, see, I don't know, but when it's in my lap, I'm going to have to figure out. But I don't have enough knowledge yet about those things, what's going on. I just know that most all the rich people in this country are putting their money in T-bills right now, keeping the government afloat. And, and they're doing well. But the people in this country that are trying to make it are suffering.
Have you been touring District 4?
Pardon me?
District 4. Have you been touring?
Yes. Can I explain what it is, though, just for you? So it's Lincoln County, Alamo, Panaca, Pioche, okay? Then, let's just start at that end of it. Then you come down and you've got Mesquite, Overton, Logandale. Then you come into North Las Vegas. You catch all of North Las Vegas. Excuse me. You go up to Nye County, where all those patriots live. And you go up to Esmeralda County, and you go to Mineral County, and touch Lyon County just a little bit. So it's like a kind of nice, happy smile for me. But it's got mining, it's got farming, it's got ranching, a very diverse group of people that live in North Las Vegas. It's a beautiful district. It looks like me is what it does.
So I was in Mineral County yesterday and the night before. And to be exact, Hawthorne and Beatty and Tonopah
Sure.
and Goldfield. And you know what they say?
Nobody listens to them in Washington. Their
They say that.
Their congressman never talks to them.
They say that.
And they have no hope for the future of the country. We live out here because this is safer than living in the big city.
Some might say that.
Okay.
But one thing everybody was saying is that they don't see any candidates at all come down there.
So do you see? Let me explain something.
Have you been down there?
Oh, I've been there many times.
As a candidate?
No, not as candidate. Listen, I just put my name in 4 weeks ago. You know what I mean? I'm filling out my disclosure forms now.
It took you a while. You were thinking about it.
Yeah, but I didn't have to understand what they thought about Horsford. That's for sure, because I see them all the time. So this right here, you go the 3 stages of a political race. The influencers, people, opinion leaders. You're an opinion leader. You guys are opinion leaders. Mm-hmm. What do they think about you? Are you going to be able to make them happy to endorse you among their friends and their colleagues in their radio shows? Then you go to raise money. If you go right now and you start knocking on the door and say, hey, vote for me, I'm running for Congress, nobody's going to remember who you are. You've got to raise money. You've got to show the world that you're a legitimate candidate, and then you go see the voter. Yeah. We're going in probably in January after this holiday and going to do that tour.
So Congress is an extremely important position. I mean, we've been involved in years, and you know that, endorsing candidates and vetting candidates and running background checks. Those are fun. Congress, they could impeach a president. They could declare war. People don't understand how important. There's 535 of them. But these are very, very important people. So it is imperative that voters vet each and every one of their candidates. Why do you think the current candidates that are actually running now, including the incumbent, why do you think that people should vote for you? How do you, John Lee, legislature, mayor, how do you stand out above the fray, and people need to put you as their congressman to represent our newest seat, which is District 4. We're probably going to get another one at the end of with the next survey. I'm hoping so, because we're growing so much. But how would you stand out amongst all of them?
Steve, the only way you can judge a person is by judging their past. I can be a flim-flam car salesman and sell you whatever you want. You're going to like everything I say, and I'm going to walk out of here bumping the apple. I fake those guys out too, Or you can look at their past. Hey, this guy's had 6 jobs. He got fired from every single one of them. So the first way you look at them is, do they have the ability to work within the system? I've had a lot of government service. Do they have integrity? Maybe you want somebody who goes to church. Did they have a faith, Have they ever went bankrupt? Have they done these things? So the only thing you can really sell about yourself is, I can prove to you what I've done in the past and judge me by what I've done in the past. These are the things I'm going to do in the future. I like to set seemingly impossible goals. And I hit those goals, like fix North Las Vegas, do these things that I do. I was in a scouting organization for years as a volunteer. I was an Eagle Scout. There's a thing called a Silver Beaver. That's for men. Got that? National Outstanding Eagle Scout in the nation here in Nevada. You look at a guy and say, dude, this guy just talks the talk, but look at it, he walks the walk. And he's not even bragging about half the stuff that he's done, you have to choose people that you can look at their past and say, I'm buying a 5-star guy here.
So if I was to Google you, John,
Mm-hmm.
don't know nothing about you. I just moved here. I did a background on you already, so I know more than what you say. Google will show up. But if I was just a normal guy and I wanted to vet my candidates, and I was to Google you, what's the worst thing that I'm going to find on you
That I've done?
that you've done, or that you've been accused of?
I think when I fired that police officer and he tried to say I was a child pornographer, that would probably be it.
Okay.
And
I need you to explain that. You know why? You know why? Because when I mention your name to folks, a lot of folks bring that up.
So
and I'm like, well, that's not John. That's not the John I know.
It's not John at all.
So
I freaked out when I heard it.
So these people that are just moving away because of
That
that.
was like 6 years ago, but let me tell you the story.
It doesn't matter, John. It
It
still happened.
It happened. Let me tell you the
But
story.
Please.
So here I am. We always hear, see something, say something, right? So we were the last family in Nevada to get a computer. We just weren't into that stuff. So I get this little iPad. And we put John Lee Family at Cox.net. That was what it was called. And so somebody'd send me an email, and my kids would use it. It was just a little family thing we'd play with, So one day, I look at it, and I go, oh, there's an email. And I thought I recognized somebody's name. And I hit it, and boom. The screen gets up, one screenshot of these Asian ladies. But you know what? Asian ladies, you don't know if they're young or old. You know what I mean? They keep their beauty for years, And so I said, oh, Marilyn, I took it to my wife. Look at this. We don't want the kids to see this. Look what I just saw, And I said, what do we do? And like, how do you erase stuff? That, pretty much that was the question. She goes, you need to take that to the police. That's a bad person. We need to find out who that is. So I said, okay. And I took it in the morning. I took it I gave it to my secretary. I said, would you call the police up here? I want to turn this thing in. There's some child pornography on this thing. And we could probably catch that person whose name sent it to me, right? And so the police guy comes up there. He has me sign something for it. That he has my computer now. He takes it off. I don't hear from him in 2 weeks. I keep thinking, when is he going to give my computer back? I got to know who did it by now. And so what he does, he went through it. He couldn't figure out. It was like some Russian thing or something. I don't know. They just send stuff out, I guess, And he comes back and goes, we didn't find nothing, And he says, by the way, since I know you use this for your family, I had it cleaned off, And so I said, oh, thank you very much. And that was it. So in the meantime, this police chief I couldn't stand, and we had taken all his ability away from him. Yeah. Okay. And he would say to police officers, you're fired. The police officers have a bill of rights. You have to do things certain ways, Even the union would call us and say, this is going to cost you a lot of money, City of North Las Vegas. Stop this idiot. We need to help build a town together, So he had all his police powers taken away from him by the city manager. He couldn't reprimand anybody anymore. So he had found out about this. It wasn't a big deal to me. And so they had done a little thing. The mayor called, said there was some pornography or whatever, just a report. And so he takes that report, and he knows he's going to get ran off. So he goes down to the finance department. He goes, hey, I'm thinking about retiring. I can't stand this place. That mayor's making me mad, or something negative about me. And he said, I need you to backdate this piece of paper here for me, so I'm going to retire. Now, this piece of paper said something to do with his taxes or something, like he had vacation pay and holiday pay, all this accrued stuff, And he said, this is going to cost me $40,000 if you guys don't sign this and backdate it. Darren Adair, who's as straight arrow as you and I are, says, wait a minute, we don't do that. Did you talk to anybody in the organization here about this? No, but you'll do it. You've done it for other people. We've never done that for other people, And he said,
Joe Chronister.
Yeah. And so what happens was then he gives it back. And so he takes that and goes, well, you do what you do. You got to do it. I'll do what I got to do, So he
leaked it to the press.
Yeah. He gives it to her on Thursday, says, here, but you wait till after Friday because Friday is my last day. Now, this guy was so popular. He had a retirement party. Only 3 of his lieutenants came. None of the employees.
I wasn't invited.
You weren't supposed to because nobody liked it.
I don't think.
But my point is, he gives it to them, and this person wants to do this. I want truth to power. I'm going to prove to the world I should get a Nobel Peace Prize or Pulitzer Prize or whatever these people win for. And I get a phone call one day. She goes, hey, by the way, you got caught with pornography on your computer. I go, no, I didn't get caught. I turned it in. Boom, they changed it all around, like that I did evil things, So, that happens in this world.
Well, I'm glad you were a victim, because you learn a lot from being a victim.
You do, and you understand the evil of people.
You appreciate it, and you know that sometimes shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't judge anybody.
Look at Donald Trump right now. He's like, oh, hell yeah, shit does happen.
So there's that idiot, and that'd be the worst thing you'd ever see on me, is a big lie.
So again, I'm the regular Joe, and I Googled you. What would be the best thing that if I Googled you, it would say about you?
Probably he's the hardest worker. That my job was to be the best elected official I could be in Nevada. I think I was an outstanding mayor. I think I was an outstanding senator. I was an outstanding assemblyman. And my whole term, 14 years in the state legislature, I never missed a vote on the floor. I prided myself. I'd go to work sick. I would go there, vote, and then maybe I'd go off into my office and just recover, Mm-hmm. I worked every single day for the residents of North Las Vegas. And I think my work ethic, my integrity, I'm financially well enough off. I don't need to do something to get a job for your company tomorrow. I'm independent of anybody putting pressure on me, but I want to work with good people to do good things. And so I go to church every Sunday. I don't care what church you're in. I believe everyone should be treated equally, and we're all God's children. Let's make sure we all get up there. So that's it.
So how's my friend, former Miss Nevada? Alana.
My daughter, Alana. She's doing fine. She's my 7th daughter. She's doing fine. She's in real estate up in Idaho. She's doing great. But I'm very proud of my family. I'm very proud of my reputation. When I left home, my dad said to me, people say my dad said this, my dad said that. My dad and I didn't talk about a lot of stuff like that. It's like, need to know. If he didn't need to know it, he didn't talk about it, And when I got ready to leave home, he said, son, I've left you a good name. Don't ruin it. And he's right. He had a great name, and I don't want to ruin it.
So just so viewers and listeners,
hold on a second. I appreciate you explaining that the worst thing that I could find. I really appreciate it.
But I didn't do pornography. It was the worst thing said about me,
Yeah, because we both were like, no, not John.
I should have went after him legally.
You should have.
You can't steal city property and do that.
The statute of limitations has expired.
All my friends called me and said, John, don't fan this. It'll be worse if you do it. It'll be in the paper for months, and North Las Vegas.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Do you remember when Shelley Berkeley was running against Dean Heller for the Senate?
I do.
Okay. So you remember when they went after her husband?
Yes.
Okay. So I said, Shelley, you need to go defend that. And she goes, no. My campaign people said, leave it alone. And look what happened. Dean Heller won.
Yep.
And she called me back and she goes, you know what? I should
use this as an example.
I should have went after. I should have defended my husband.
I should have destroyed him.
So that's what you should have did.
Yeah.
And that's my firm belief. I believe in an eye for an eye.
But I didn't care because you're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to run the city the way it needs to be run.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens to you. You're gone. That was the most important thing to me, And I was satisfied with it,
Yeah.
So,
but I think you should have legally went after.
Yeah.
That's what you should.
I'll add to that story just a little bit. So after they gave me that paper back,
did you say you lied?
No, I'm going to add to it.
Oh, you add.
Yeah. And so I was so mad at that. I took that computer, they gave it back to me, and I took it to the specialized company, where spy people would go to get into things. I go, can you find out? This was our handle. Is there some computer out there that has this information, And he said, well, where do you live, John? I said, I just live down over here. And he goes, well, that's only a couple miles from here. Let's go over to your house real quick. I want to see something. You have a computer at your house? I went, yeah, my wife's got this little thing, So he goes over to the house. He goes, hey, let me have your phone for a second. And my wife's phone. What do you need all this? This wasn't the computers. And he went through everything we had. And he goes, you've never done pornography in your life. I go, I know. That's what I'm telling you. I never did it.
It would have been saved on our ISP.
He goes, it would be on every single tool you had if you did pornography, So I'm happy. My wife loves me and I love her. And we had to get rid of a bad person. If that's what it took to get rid of him, good luck.
Jim, you have anything left for John?
No, the only thing that I would like you to, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but so I actually am super good friends with Leslie Hutchings Ray.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I went to high school with her.
Oh, good.
And she wanted me to ask you about starting a plumbing company out of the back of your car.
That's a good...
And she thought that would be something
she
really
would-
good for the viewers and listeners to understand.
She would know about that. So we were a one-car family for years. When you had that many children, back then, a lot of people didn't have two cars back then. You know, it was just one station wagon. And so I had decided that I had done I knew my trade well enough. I liked the people I worked with, but I never knew if I could become financially independent, be an employee. I was always independent kind of guy, like I do side jobs, or I was always hustling to feed that family. So one day, I think the economy turned and a bunch of us got laid off, you know, something like that. And I said, I can't go get unemployment. If my dad saw me down there, he'd be embarrassed. You know, I mean, that was back then. You didn't go get unemployment unless you were destitute, you know, even though you paid for it, it showed you, your family, you couldn't survive, you know, without the government. So I found a friend of mine was going to build this old building. I go, listen, I'd like to do the plumbing for that. And he says, well, give me a bid. And my bid was comparable to theirs. I didn't have all the overhead, so it was a little bit cheaper. And he says, okay, John, you've got your job. The first job I had, I didn't even have a plumbing truck. I had to take my station wagon down to Kelly's Pipe and Supply and strap pipes on the top of my truck, you know, with bungee cords and stuff like that, and go out there and start plumbing that building all by myself, digging those holes and setting those tub boxes and doing everything it took. And so I started that company with the station wagon. Then a friend that had his little service company said, hey, I want to sell this little company. And I go, I'm interested in buying. I'd never been a service plumber before, but I'd be interested in buying if you take payments. And he said, yeah, we'll do that. We're getting older now. We want to scale down our plumbing company. So I got that little service plumbing company next to his big company, one little room, you know, and I started building my company.
I just wanted to make sure you got that out. Because I was like, hey, he's been a little too humble. So I just wanted viewers and listeners to understand where you came from and where you are now. And that's cool because I consider that like the all-American story.
Oh, when I got there and there was an old jackhammer there, you know, and plumbers use jackhammers all the time, and I could never afford it, like $800, you know. And I remember looking at that jackhammer and go, I own a jackhammer. I mean, I was in such awe that I was making this, but man, I worked hard. Yeah, I worked hard. Thank you for that question. It makes me smile about Leslie too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John, is there anything that you want to cover that we didn't already?
I don't think so. I just want people to know I'm not really wanting to be a superstar anywhere. I'm just wanting to do the job. I don't really want to like be on the biggest committee in Washington and have a chairmanship and all that kind of. I just want to work for Nevada, do the job that Nevada needs, and then secure this nation the best I can for, you know, to preserve our Constitution, for Second Amendment rights, of energy independence, all the things that families need to be successful in this country. And I don't have an ego. I've done well enough just going after important things that are good for families, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Okay. Well, Jim, if you don't have anything else?
No, I don't have anything
John,
else.
we appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a wealth of information. and we catching up at the same time. Mark is going to zoom in on you.
Hello.
And you could say your final words, your website, your web address, or how to get in contact with you, or how or why the voters need to go and vote for you, because CD4 is my district, by the way.
Oh, that's good.
It's mine too.
You in CD4 too?
Yeah. Oh, good.
CD4
When did that happen?
Yeah, when they rezoned it. That's why it was weird, because I used to be on Ward 5, now I'm on Ward 1.
Well, there's never been a 5.
No, I'm just talking about the city.
Oh, okay.
Ward
City of
5
Las
City.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry, John.
My greatest desire is to serve the residents of CD4 and to work hard for all Nevada residents in this state. I love this state. My great desire is to leave when I leave this earth, to have done my best. If you look in the Bible, it talks about helpers and charity and all these nice things that need to be done in this world. I want to do those things. I'm not trying to be the richest man that ever lived anywhere. I just like good values and good people, and I would work very, very hard for you. You will be very successful with me in there compared to what you're receiving now for that vote. And I promise you that I'll always be accessible to you. And I'd appreciate it if I could get your support to have this opportunity to serve. You can get a hold of us at johnleeforcongress.com. We need contributions. We need people like you, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, to get behind good candidates right now. And let's preserve this country that we so love. And I'll do my best for you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John. We really appreciate you coming on and informing the voters about your platform. Thanks, Jim. Folks, that's John Lee. He is the candidate for Nevada's Congressional District number 4. We hope that you do your homework and read up on John, watch his video, and go back and replay it because he's very informative. He's very educated, very knowledgeable. So make a good choice when you go to the voting booth. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.